Assalamu alaikum students, this is your teacher Anam Qadri and I've come up with a new topic of operators and variables. In this topic we are going to learn the different types of operators that can be applied in a pseudocode or in any algorithm and how variables are used to work with these operators and assign a value or to output the final result. Before moving further, let's first define how variables are assigned different values. For this, we need the assignment operator, and the assignment operator is shown by an arrow directing from the value to the variable. So be very mindful about the direction of this arrow. This should be from the value to the variable. For example, if we have used a variable num and we have to assign a value 10 to it initially, then num and 10 are written like this. Since 10 is assigned to the variable num, so the arrow is going to point from 10 towards num. And similarly, the same values goes for when we are applying a value 50 to the total. You can see that 50 is written on the right hand side and total on the left, and the assignment operator is directed from 50 to total. To keep in mind that the value that is assigned is always written on the right hand side, and the name of the variable is always written on the left hand side. So now we move on to the different mathematical operators that are used in performing calculations with arithmetic symbols and hence assign the final value to the variables. First mathematical operator we'll be talking about is basic arithmetic operators. These include plus, minus, multiply, divide, and power. Now you may have noticed here that plus and minus are given the same operators, but for multiplication we use steric. So if we have to multiply 6 by 7, we say it's 6 steric 7. The result would be 42. For division, it's very obvious that we cannot write upon, so we use the slash here. And for exponent, this one is also different. Normally, exponent means anything to the power of anything. For example, if we want to write 2 to the power 3 or 2 cube, then instead obviously we will use this operator, the exponent operator, and we can write it as 2 exponent operator 3. This will give you the value 8. The next arithmetic operators in fact are mod and div. Now to understand these two operators, we first divide 13 by 5. We know that after dividing 13 by 5, we will get a remainder, and that too, if it is removed, we will get a decimal value that is equals to 2.6. Now let's say that we don't want a decimal number or a real number that is of real data type, obviously, as we have read it earlier, and we simply we use 13 div 5. Now by 13 div 5, this will give only the whole number. This can be understood if I practically divide 13 by 5. I will get a whole number of 2 and the remainder of 3. So this 2 will actually give, this is the answer of 13 div 5. That is, the quotient is the answer of the 13 div 5. Whereas the remainder is actually given by the mod operator or the mod function. To understand it more clearly, consider that there are 13 chocolates that need to be distributed among 5 students. When we need to be distribute 13 amongst 5, each of the 5 students will get 2 complete chocolates. And after distributing it, 3 would still be left. So what is left over will be given by the mod function, whereas what has been distributed equally among the students is given by the div operation. I hope it's understood and pretty clear by now. And you can also see that the real answer had a decimal number, but the answers of div and mod are both whole numbers. On another practical example using mod and div. Think of 13 cupcakes shared among 5 students. Each student gets 2 cupcakes, which is given by 13 div of 5. That means 5 full times 5 fits into 13. After giving everyone 2 cupcakes, 3 cupcakes are left, which is given by mod. That is the leftover amount. The next type of operators are the relational operators, which are used to show the relation between the two values or comparing the values to make the decisions. These include the is equals to sign, in which we compare the two values whether they are both equal to each other. The not equal to sign, which is mathematically given as this, but in pseudocodes we use it by the greater than and the lesser than and the greater than sign. And not equals can be compared if 10 is not equals to 2. Then we have greater than and lesser than sign that are used in the same way as in mathematics. And for greater than equals to, in mathematics we have like this, but here we have greater than equals to and lesser than equals to, and they are used in a similar way. Usually relational operators are used in such statements in which decision has to be made by the comparison of the two values. For example, if you want to verify the password, obviously for verification of the password, we have a password at hand and the system is used to verify it whether whatever password we know is the password that is required. So that means we have to compare the two values, that is the value that we know and the value that the system knows, and which is the actual key to opening the door. So check if entered password is correct. For that, input the password. If password is CS2026, which we are assuming that this is the real password and the system has to look for this password to open the door, then output access granted, else output wrong password. So you see, this is used in decision-making statements on the basis of which the decision has to be made whether to carry out the work or to hinder that work. The next type of operators are the Boolean operators, in which we combine multiple conditions and then depending upon those multiple conditions or the combination of those multiple conditions, we decide whether to carry out a process or not. So the different operators that are used in Boolean operators are the AND operators, which returns true only if both sides are true, or that if both the conditions are true, then only it will be a true. The answer will be a true. Hence, it will be a false. The next one is the OR operator that returns true if at least one side is true. That means any of the two conditions is true, irrespective of whether the other one is true or not. It will give the answer as true. And the third one is the NOT operator, which inverts the value. True becomes the false and false becomes true. How to use these logical operators practically? Let's calculate. Consider the expression 10 is greater than 5 and 3 is not equal to 4. Let's first look at this condition. 10 is greater than 5. Is it true? Yes, this is true. Whereas the next condition, 3 is not equal to 4. This is also true? Yes, this is true. Since both of them are true, an AND operator is used in between. Therefore, the answer will be a true as well. If we would have used an OR operator instead of an AND operator, then obviously the two of them are true. This would again have been true. Let's work on some more examples using the Boolean operators. For example, these are used where validation questions are required, used to check whether input meets certain rules. Example is, check if a student's age is between 5 and 18. So whenever age is taken as input by the system will first check if age is greater than equal to 5 and age is lesser than equal to 18. Why did we use and here? Because only and only if both the conditions are true, that means the student age lies in between 5 and 18, and hence it would be a validated age, so the output would be a valid age. Let's consider another example in which decision-making questions are involved, used when multiple conditions can lead to different outcomes. For example, give a discount if customer is a member or purchase amount is above 5,000. Means if any of these conditions are true, if the customer is a member, then he will be given a discount. Or if customer is not a member, but any member or any customer coming in has purchased the items equivalent to 5,000, then he will be also given a discount. That means either of these is true, the discount will be granted. So we don't need an and operator here. We will need an or operator here, in which either of the conditions are true, the answer will be a true. So if member is equals to true or purchase is greater than 5,000, then the discount will be equals to true and that customer will be given the due discount. Let's take in another example using Boolean operators, and these involve searching questions. Those are used when checking whether something has been found. For example, if you want to search for a student name in a list, we take the input from the user and the input is stored in the variable search name. That is, this is the name that we are looking for in the list, which is the name. So if name is equals to search name, means while looking at the list one by one, whatever name comes in, if that is equals to the search name, that means that name is already in the list, and found will be equals to true. Found is any variable that will be equals to true and false depending upon whether the name is there. So originally if found is false, as soon as the name is found and the name is present in the list, it will be turned true. A flag is basically a Boolean variable that stores only two values, true or false. It acts like a signal or indicator to track whether something has happened. For example, if a flag helps the program remember a condition, think of it like a switch. If it is equals to false, that means that condition has not yet happened in the program. And if the condition is true, that means, or if the flag is true, that means that the condition has happened earlier and it is saved in the flag in the form of true. Likewise, Boolean operators are used in loop control questions. These are used to keep repeating until a condition changes. While password correct is equals to false, password correct is a variable in which the password is entered and somewhere before it has been verified that that password that is entered is not matching the current password. So if the current password is not matching with the correct password, then it will be termed as a false and the input will be taken again. For most of these, this process is repeated thrice, and after the third time that account is permanently locked. So this is basically the criteria that this will give you 3 times the option to enter the correct password. Another scenario using the Boolean operators are the complex selection problems. These are the questions involving several conditions together. For example, if a student passes only if his marks is greater than equal to 50 and the attendance is also greater than equal to 75, then only he will be promoted to the next class. So we have two conditions here. First, we will check the marks, that they should be greater than equal to 50. And secondly, we will check the attendance, that it should be greater than 75. And since we know that until and unless both of these conditions are not true, we cannot proceed to promoting the student. That means we will now use the AND operator. And we are going to check both of these: marks greater than equal to 50 and attendance is greater than equal to 75, then output pass. That means the student would be termed as promoted. Summing up, we can say that an operator is the action that is to be carried out between two operands or the two variables. The different types of operators that are included in your syllabus are the assignment operator, which is denoted by an arrow directing from right towards the left, to where the left is the name of the variable and the right one is the value that is to be assigned to that variable. The next one are the arithmetic operators, which includes plus, minus, multiply, divide, power, mod, and div, where mod is and div, both of them will give the whole number values. Div will be the quotient of the division, whereas mod will be the remainder. Relational operators includes greater than, lesser than, greater than equals to, lesser than equals to, not equals to, and the equals to. That shows the relation between the two, or the comparison between the two variables. And the Boolean operators, which includes and, or, and not, that basically are used to compare or to decide based upon the comparison between two different values, whether you want to proceed if both the conditions are true, or you want to proceed if either one of them is true, or you want to proceed if none of them is true, or you want to revert the result. So this is it. I hope, students, you must have understood this topic of operators, how we use these operators, how the operators are used to assign the values to the variables and to output the final result. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.